Hey, what's going on, everybody? Been a while since I've been on here. I came across an article and it talked about why black people can't be racist. And this article right here hit the nail in the coffin for me. It just hit the nail in the coffin. You know, I come on here sometimes and I will talk about the wrongdoings that black people in our community do to each other, our misfortunes and that, because I'm very critical about that. Because I believe if you causing being a savage in our community, you should be kicked out of the community. You go out there killing somebody, you should be thrown underneath the jail. I've been said that plenty of times, and I've gotten flack for it. And people say, "Oh, people will complain, oh, it's the white person's fault." And I've told people before, no white person can make you pick up a gun and shoot nobody. White supremacy can't make you pick up a gun and kill anybody. But and then you got people thinking, well, oh yeah, I'm giving other group of people. No, I'm not giving nobody a pass. Everybody's fair game when it comes to me. Because was watching a video, a shout out to Phil from the African News Diaspora Channel. He talked about certain things and it had a couple of comments on there that just like, oh, here we go again. Hey, white people are always thinking that we racist and we hate them and everything else. I'm gonna read this article and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna give my opinion on this whole thing. And hopefully this will be put to rest for good. So this article was written in about 5 years ago. It's by the name of Sabantum Mizwakali. If I pronounce his last name wrong, I apologize. And he says this. He says, a man cannot hate the whip with which he is being flogged, but then expected to love the person doing the flogging. When such a black man lying helpless, bleeding on the ground, expresses hate for the white person wielding the whip, it is only reasonable. Many times in the presence of whites, I have found myself in a position that no black person should ever find themselves in. After being accused of being racist by liberals and conservatives, both black and white, I found myself having to explain my existence as a black person and why the system does not favor a person of color. Having said this, there are two things that I want to address. First, I have lost patience continuously explaining what it means to be privileged to a white person and why black pain is valid. Second, I understand that black people have a right to voice out their pain. Their pain does not require validation from a white person to be considered real. If your arrogance as a white person is blinding you from seeing this, then it's time for you to do some introspecting. Do not be quick to jump on the victim bandwagon and accuse blacks of being racist. Black people can never be racist. We never had the tools or the power to institutionalize racial oppression. So next time you as a white person want to accuse a black people of reverse racism and insufficient anger, check yourself and your privilege. May we learn to stop equating the need to speak out against racial inequality with angry blacks or black people punishing whites. We do not have the time or the energy or interest to hate, but we do have the time for is emancipation of the black person both physically and mentally. Do not attempt to silence our voices. You will fail horribly at that. Black pain is valid and it demands to be felt. On discrimination based on one's color, I can only concur that blacks can be prejudicial towards whites, but not racist. What do I mean? Before I attempt to give an explanation of my argument, first I have to define the words that serve as the premises: prejudice and racism. Prejudice refers to a positive or negative evaluation of another person based on their perceived group membership. Racism, on the other hand, refers to social actions, practices, or beliefs or political systems that consider different races to be ranked as inherently superior or inferior to each other. Furthermore, racism is a social economic with systematic structures which promotes one's race powers over another. Social economic being the operative word, I am certain that you will agree that black people do not have the resources to impose such oppressive structures which enforce their superiority. White people, on the other hand, have and had imposed them on blacks for over 4 centuries of slavery and colonialism. Black people can be prejudiced, but not racist. Did you hear that? Black people can be prejudiced, but not racist. Now let me continue. Quite frankly, we black people are tired of having to deal with white people who have an inclination to play the "you're also racist" card. The energy and time investing in voicing such statements should be focused on understanding how whites can alienate themselves from their privilege and what is the source of black anger. By so doing, whites will understand our pain and realize that they need to free themselves from the prison of privilege that took centuries to construct. The explanation of such bigotry that blacks are also racist and incited both by white arrogance and ignorance. It's about time we unpack all of the clueless vitriol that often comes from white people when we dare talk about black pain. So basically, what this person is saying is that okay, you need to free yourself from the privilege prison. Basically, that's what she's saying in this paragraph. Okay, they wanted, unless you will you give up your white privilege to kill the system of racism and white supremacy? That's what she's talking about. And a lot of them aren't going to do that. And it's just being truthful. Not lying, just being truthful. Okay. Sorry about that. Continuing. We need to reject the notion that the blackness of our skin absolve us to the hate we are capable of spewing from our lips. We need to address the white view that when we talk about race, we always seek for an easy target instead of debate to transform the whole society. It has become a norm to be told that we are not the only victims in this world, and racial oppression does not need to be given first priority over many oppressive issues caused by multitude of privilege. For example, a black male is told to check on his heterosexual privilege, gender privilege, etc. The gender and wealth privileges are most part privileges amongst blacks, and mostly they serve as a liberal propaganda in the form of campaigns to argue that we all have one form of the other of privilege. All forms of oppression need to be addressed, but white feminism is far from multiple societal oppression a black woman has to experience. Excuse me. Lastly, we have to address those who are quick to accuse us of segregation when we question a liberal integration of all races, while one race continues to thrive on the exploitation of the other. The segregation we advocate for is not a principle or a worldview, but a tactic needed to remove the hegemony from the struggle. Whites need not to reduce black pain by feeling the need to equate it to how they also have been mistreated, and is very suspicious of white liberals to quickly shout that blacks are also racist and their difference when they are asked to examine their privilege. First of all, when black people voice out their pain, that is not the time or the platform for whites to also voice out an opinion. White people need to learn the importance of respecting context and what's appropriate at what time. When a woman has been raped, she is comforted in efforts to made to give her justice. She is not simply told, "Oh, but don't deny the fact that you too are capable of rape." I find that the white arrogance disgusting. As concerned black people, we are tired of having white people want to claim the spotlight even when all we want to do is talk about our pain. This is why we have been distancing ourselves from whites, because black people have been robbed of opportunities of dealing with our pain on our own. Because in the past, every time we did, there's always a white person saying the same kind of thing or thinking in the same parallel that the struggle is about classes and not in society, not race. Why must black people educate white people on what it means to be humane? We are tired of doing that. And it's crazy how the people closest to the oppression have constantly explained themselves and their anger. This isn't about you. Your opinion is not wanted. How dare you want to equate our struggle as black people, or black women especially, to what you go through? The major problem with those who accuse blacks of being capable of racism lies with the comparison of pain. Our pain is the existential truth in its own right. You need to understand, my fellow black people, when they reject white involvement now, excuse me, it's primarily because people who are arrogant and think that freedom of speech allows them to speak whenever they want. Second, these are the things that don't sit well with me. One, white and black scholars always in the forefront defining and describing racisms to the levels of their academics or experience. Is it as if they're saying people who are not white or from European origins or even academic root should not point out flaws in white people's use of words in regards to reasoning because the color of our skin discounts us from such privilege? Apparently, it is arrogant for us concerned blacks to even think about correcting a white person's use of the English on the context of racism. The usage of the word racist being subject to find relatively in the awful practice or hate speech by a black person. My assertion is that a black person's attitude towards white skin could be prejudice. Not that black people are racist, the use of the word racist relative to a hate speech by blacks on blacks or whites is incorrect. A subjugated group cannot be racist, they can only be prejudicial. As I pointed out, people have to make up their minds in regard to what exactly they seem to be advocating for. The color of my skin does not discount me from being racist, but the very society that we as blacks find ourselves in, we are automatically inferior due to continuous systematic support of white privilege. This counts us from being racist. Due to the fact that we find ourselves in this inferior position, it is impossible for us to be racist. Do not make the struggle seem superficial by likening it to the color of our skin. It is more than that, and you need to start recognizing that. Black liberals are buying into white people's ignorance if their integration does not question white hegemony, arrogance, and privilege of centuries. There is no need to be petty. You have your opinion, and you have the right to voice it. Just recognize my right to disagree with you. Your advocacy in saying we are racist for questioning your privilege and arrogance shows exactly the mentality that black radicals have always been speaking out against. Just because a black person chooses to differ from the white's worldview, they should not be painted as bitter or hateful. I am allowed to speak out and differ from your view and my thoughts just like every other human being must be recognized as valid. The call regarding the need for us to check their privilege is something that is important but completely irrelevant to debates on radical constructs. There are other victims in this world, but the fact is that white privilege is still largely supported in South Africa. Pointing them out is just an attempt to distract us from the topic at hand. Even if we engage on your matter, you must recognize that black people themselves still face their subjugation by race in addition to their subjugation by wealth and gender and etc. So we will check our privilege, but recognize that your contents is easier because you do not have to first bypass any constraints that your race places on you. Whites also need to be reminded that their privilege is mainly at the core of what keeps most of the world's population underprivileged. Whites who refuse to acknowledge the fact that in the current system blacks cannot be racist will necessarily miss the massive nuance around the discussion of structural and systematic oppression as opposed to simple slurs or offensive statements. And missing that nuanced discussion, you will miss the opportunity to contribute to solving that problem. You will simply continue to ignore it. You will continue to alienate the real victims of oppression by equivalent equivocating their suffering and any prejudice experienced by someone who has the social standing to shrug it off. You would derail and scuttle the progress of those trying to solve the actual problem by forcing discussions to be refocused on your own misunderstandings. You will continue to come across as bigoted and annoying. But if you want to continue your way of looking at things, my suggestion would not to continue to voice them on a comment of someone who has voiced their frustration based on the experience of oppression. For a black person who for 500 years has known nothing but colonialism, nothing but apartheid, nothing but imperialism, it's only logical that such a man would hate the system. And reasonably, a man cannot hate the scourge that has whipped his body for centuries, but love the person who has been doing the whipping. When such a black man lying and bleeding on the floor helplessly professes to hate the white person wielding the scourge, it is only reasonable. Only a time such a man can never be accused of being racist when he has his own scourge, equal in length and quality as the one held by the white man whipping him. It is when bleeding person is equal to tormentor, that he has the power to exert anything on him and to be racist. So there you have it. That's what this person wrote, and I agree wholeheartedly, 100% of what he said, wholeheartedly, because you know I have a right to hate somebody that's been beating me, beating me, constantly beating me, and attacking me for no apparent reason, just for the color of my skin, and I'm supposed to love the person that's doing it? No, of course you're not going to love the person that's doing it. And to me, we people will always say, when people voicing their anger, they always say, "Oh, that's being racist." Oh, why are you saying such hateful things? And then when certain people say, "You know what? We want a space to ourselves. We want to get away from y'all. We want to, example, go to Africa." First thing they say, "Why you want to segregate? Why you want to get away from us? We didn't do nothing to you. All white people aren't that way." That's the problem. For over 400 years, y'all have been done nothing but torment us, hurt us, kill our ancestors, be racist. My pop telling me he was coming up in the South. He did a sit-in. He experienced racism when he did sit-ins. He was experienced racism. So, you know, and to sit there and say that we're racist because we say, you know what, we don't want to deal with y'all like that, or we want to go somewhere where it's peace, or we want to go to another country where when we don't have to deal with y'all, and y'all say y'all want to go back to segregation, y'all want to go back to the 1950s. Well, why would you continue to be around somebody that doesn't like you, that hates you, that constantly calls you the N-word, that constantly doesn't look at you 3/5 of a human being? Why would you want to be around somebody like that? I don't understand that. And then when we talk about it, you dismiss it, you be ignorant, you don't want to listen because, oh, it's the angry black man or it's the angry black woman. You don't want to listen. So my thing is, to black people, stop explaining yourself. You can't be racist. Can you be prejudiced? Yes, you can. You can be prejudiced. And everybody can be prejudiced. Everybody has been prejudiced at one point in their life because it just has nothing to do with race. It could be towards something that you like. It could be towards a material. So I don't want to hear that. The reason why black people are saying the things that they're saying, and they're saying, you know what, I want to get away. Let's move to Africa or Nigeria or whatever, because they are tired of dealing with the oppression, the racism, the police shootings, unarmed black men. They're tired of it, and they don't get justice. And then when black people expresses that, white people want to say, well, I've been discriminated against too. This ain't about you. Stop always trying to equate something about you when it has nothing to do with you, because you have not experienced even 2/5 of what black people have gone through. You have privilege. Okay? You have privilege. If you're a white woman, you get raped, people are going to comfort you. They're going to tell you it's going to be all right. They're going to be willing to get that person that did it. And if a black person that did it, he's going to get twice the life sentence. I remember there was a story in Jersey. This little girl was missing. She was end up found dead in the trash can. Oh, they went after those black people. They wanted the death penalty, and they were teenagers. Now I don't agree with what they did, but come on. They act like when a white person gets killed, especially a little girl, it's like the whole world stops. But when our little girls get killed, our little children get killed, nothing happens. Nothing. And this is what we're talking about. It's always one, well, we've been discriminated against. This ain't about you. My question is, are you going to give up your white privilege to end the system? That's the question. We don't have the energy and the time to hate you. We don't have the energy and the time to go out there and start attacking you because of the color of your skin. Because we're not like that. We're not hateful people. But when we get tired of dealing with your crap and dealing with your racism, and then you ignoring us, that's why I said stop explaining stuff. I don't explain nothing to nobody. Y'all explaining, or why are you supporting this black business? That's kind of rich. Stop explaining stuff to people. What are you explaining to them for? For what? You can support wherever you want to support. Okay? Black people can't be racist. Can you read black people what they can do? And Claude Anderson said that before on the Breakfast Club. He said black people can't be racist. They are the reactors to racism. And what people are saying and they're angry, they are reacting to the racism all the time. What's going on? That's what they're doing. You may think it's hate, you might think it's racist or bigoted, but they are reacting. If I keep getting tormented by the same person, I'm going to grow to hate them. Literally. It is what it is. Let me know what you think about this article. I'm going to put the article in the description box. You can read it for yourself. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel.